We're here today for the Town of Lexington Groves Roadway, Equestrian Trail and Greenway Advisory Committee, Wednesday, March 26, 2014. What you do is the honor of the roll call, please.
Chair Corning,
Here.
Vice Chair Strelo,
Here.
Committee Member Harris,
Here.
Committee Member Joe.
Here.
I can't do it. So, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the agenda.
I have an issue with the agenda. Item 5A, no, well, yeah, 5A. We're going to review it, we're going to read it, so everybody can do that, or do we have to have a long discussion about it when it's not really anything we need to discuss?
You actually don't have to discuss it at all. What it is this was a PowerPoint presentation by the Finance Advisory and Audit Committee, and it's just basically being given to you as a review and file, so it's basically for your information.
Okay, great. And then 5C, 2 humans to 1 horse. That's not part of, that has nothing to do with roadways, greenways, equestrian trails.
We asked for it to be on the next agenda. I passed the gavel. He said.
What agenda?
When this came up with the people that came in front of us. But you
I-
want this
what
to
I
go to
mean is-
P&Z zoning?
Yes, I mean, you meant for our agenda, or the town council? Where did you want it?
Well, the
I mean, not
concern,
here, though.
the concern with it, I think, was that, you know, that 2 humans to 1 horse as a regulation will throw us, pretty much anybody that has a family and 1 horse, into being in the wrong place of the overseas. So,
But it's,
it is,
that's zoning
but
or
I
someone else.
understand that, but yet, you know, when it comes to horses, we're understanding this a little bit better, so the question is, should we make a recommendation for that to be looked at, even if it's not our.
Nobody's asked us to. So, I mean, it's not a response. We have not been asked for a response, and it's not anything that should come out of this committee.
It was something that came out of what we were asked for last time, which wasn't really within our scope either.
I know.
So, so, I mean, it's up to you guys. It's something that I will bring up and have brought up in the past, over and over again, to the council and elsewhere. So it doesn't have to be here. It's not, you know, I don't have to stick it into this agenda one way or another.
Okay, but you see, we do have other committees that would be appropriate for this.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else?
I seconded the motion thinking that it was coming to this committee as a request. The only reference I'm familiar with is the definition commercially equine operations where the 2-to-1 ratio falls into place. If we're to discuss it, I guess if the first question is, would that be a ULDC amendment change? Or can that be a simple change?
Well, my advice to you would be, I think if the committee feels very strongly about it, that they want it to be looked at, the issue would be to request council to refer it to the ULDC Review Committee, which is the committee we currently have in place, to look at anything that is either controversial or there's a question about in the ULDC.
But it would be required for that, it would require town management time, so there would be cost involved in reviewing that
Yes.
process.
It vice versa. When you're looking at cost, you have to look at cost when people get in trouble when they shouldn't be in trouble. You know, having ULDCs that are sound is just as important in order to keep costs down.
But doesn't the very next sentence give you the opportunity to have more than 2-to-1 ratio? Or that, it says I don't have the definition with me, unfortunately, I had it on my phone, but there is a sentence right after the 2-1 ratio that says for one time you can have more than 2 people in a group participation of activities.
One time. The question really, I think, at this point, since we're on the agenda, approval or not, is whether or not it should stay on the agenda, and then we can discuss the individual issues when we get to 5C, if it stays there.
Excuse me.
So, no, it's okay, it's just, I didn't want, if I didn't say anything, somebody would be nudging me.
Yeah, somebody was about to.
So, I guess she's making a motion to have that changed, and if somebody wants to second it, then we vote on it, or if otherwise it fails.
And the change would be?
The motion is to strike 5C from the agenda.
And not pass it off or anything, just strike it from our agenda.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yes. Passes. That wasn't unanimous? I guess at that point, if, I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna force it down anybody's throat, and that's the only reason why I'm agreeing to that one.
We have so much to cover.
We
We
have a
don't
lot
need
to
to
cover.
take on anybody else's stuff.
It's just that the horse stuff is always funny when it gets to people that don't understand it, that's all. That's my concern. And since the other item was brought to us in detail, I felt that it belonged into that category. It's fine. Okay, I had a couple of things that I was concerned with the agenda as well. I think I told her, Chair Corning red bullet points, we need to take that out. I do always do that. When we were talking about culverts, we were talking about culvert bridges, I believe. Is that correct, Keith?
Yeah.
Just so that the minutes are well reflecting. In reference to the gas tax matter, I don't quite remember that we decided that this was going to be brought up to the council. I remember that I remarked on the fact that Mark had brought it up to the council and there was no response.
And I offered during the discussion of that in our last agenda, after hearing comments, I withdrew it from further consideration from the agenda.
Yes.
So do we like the minutes the way they are, or because they just kind of, but it doesn't get reflected, it has been mentioned to the council, and that's why it just died. So the question is, do the minutes need to reflect that? What do you think, Mark?
If I withdrew it,
Well, if that was said, you can't start to manufacture things from
No,
this.
it was.
It was.
It was said?
Yeah.
yes, I said I'll withdraw it from the agenda last month.
Okay. Well, then, we need to make that change.
Last month, after a few minutes of discussion of the roadway canal crossings and hearing the concerns and whatnot, I offered to withdraw it from last month's agenda because we felt that we were an advisory committee and we were trying to create I was bringing in a subject matter, an issue that was creating a condition that we may not have been in a position to do. So I volunteered to withdraw it from the agenda of last month's meeting.
And then also just to be clear on Phyllis has been asking for horse sign when she was speaking about too much horse sign. That was the direct response to the request of having Spanish signs.
No, I thought, my recollection was she asked if they could also be included in Spanish. And my response, I believe, was that I have to get it approved, even just the sign itself, so I couldn't make a comment on whether it can be done in Spanish or not.
So, well, then I just don't understand your
I don't know
comment.
if anybody else
because
remembers
says-
it that way, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the way
It just says explain there was too much signage, which is, she's been very much after signage, and it's very confusing to me, but
Rewordage on the signage instead.
I don't know what she meant anymore, but
No,
I
she wanted Spanish, but Mark said that there's so much on the signs anyway, nobody can read them and drive at the same time,
But
basically.
here it says that her comment was that there was too much signage
Yeah, at the plaza,
at the plaza, okay.
yeah, we have too many signs at the
Okay, so
plaza.
then maybe that may be perfectly right and I just misunderstood it.
I think what happened was she addressed two issues in one comment. She was talking about code enforcement related type issues and signs at the plaza, and then talking about road signs.
And there is an and, there is not a period, so fine, let's leave it. McDonald's, was that a joke? Or was that meant to go in the minutes and the pizza was the same?
more
Yeah, I don't know.
a humorous comment at the end because I'm not a Gator fan. I had to come up with something.
But I remember that.
Yes, but I mean, I'm just wondering what I mean to be in the minutes when you make a joke.
I saw that and I was a little surprised.
All right.
It's a nice touch, though.
Yes, it
I
wasn't
don't
a
know
direct
whether-
comment.
Shall I
that's why.
blush now?
Yeah, but it sounds in the sense, somebody could indicate, that feel like we were keeping him terribly long. So he's ready to have breakfast.
Well, I would take it like he had stock in
Well, that
McDonald's.
was, what, only 2 or
It
3
was.
hours, and then we could have gotten past.
Then you already fixed the Capital and Palm Beach County website, right? And then just for everybody's clarity, when I was glad the MREG was over, that was in reference to having reviewed it 3 times already. And I think I did say that also, not that I didn't want to deal with the MREG, period. Okay? I think that's it. Is that, with those changes, are we good to approve it?
As amended.
As amended?
Everybody's in agreement.
I move to approve it as amended.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Approved unanimously. Presentations none, old business none, new business 5, the FAAC PowerPoint, just for review and file, or does anybody wish to say anything in reference to it?
I make a motion to renew and file it and proceed with the following items of the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously. 5B, controlled equestrian crossing, proof numbers are there. Now we're getting to the meat. All right, so we talked about last time of us kind of working collaboratively, acting a little bit more like a workshop. So I'm sure everybody's done a little bit, we can share and see what kind of changes need to be made to this or that. I'm sure everything is not completely finished, wasn't expected to be. And anybody want to go first?
Are we speaking of the vision?
We're speaking of documents that would help to support the lights, I believe. Is that not correct?
Right. This is a workshop to work on the project at hand of the controlled equestrian crossings of Okeechobee B and F roads. If I may start, because I have some information to provide for this specifically. After our meeting with Mr. Weisberg, the traffic engineer of Palm Beach County, he asked for a master plan of showing all the trail systems of the area as a result of the discussion that Mr. Cuddy and I had with Mr. Weisberg in Palm Beach County offices. I made a statement to help sell the idea, as he volunteered immediately to send out traffic counters to get a traffic count that would show the need for a controlled equestrian crossing at the 2 intersections. And at that time, I told him that it would be not productive, as we do not have a official trail across. We do not have an official trail along Okeechobee. Our trails come at a stop. We are in the process of really developing our trails through state legislature bill. That if he were to come out presently, he might see 1 or 2 horses. And he made the statement, oh, if we build it, then they will come. And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. Once you establish it there, people will start taking advantage of it. To help sell it, I suggested that by putting that crossing in, and the fact that FDOT is saying they're going to give us equestrian crossing and pedestrian crossings on southern at B and F roads during their widening project, that would make a continuous trail system from Lake Worth Road to North Lake Boulevard by tying in the Village of Wellington network, the Lochahatchee Groves network, and the Indian Trails Improvement District network. So a master plan was to be developed to show that, and show that we could have a continuous effort, as there are state grants available for intra-municipality cooperations for parks and recreations. So I thought we use that as a plus to help get this approved and get county participation. I went to the Indian Trails Improvement District office and received their current map of their trail system. I went to Town Hall of the Village of Wellington and received their official network map, trail map. And I also have our own, both for road maps and the one that Dr. Lowder developed a couple of years ago, I believe. The Indian Trails Improvement District map is to one scale, the Lochahatchee Groves is to a different scale, and the Village of Wellington's map is not to scale. I attempted to sit down and on graphite and T-square and triangle to draw the road systems for the three areas, and then put the trails in, and then got the bright idea if we can get a road map of that area using North Lake Boulevard as the north perimeter boundary, Lake Worth Road is the south, Pratt Whitney is the west boundary, and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard's east boundary. We would have a scaled road map, which I could then easily put in the trail systems of the three neighborhoods, the three communities, do them in color codes to see which ones are, belong to which town, which municipality. And that would be beneficial to Mr. Weisberg, seeing the need that this would not only serve Lochahatchee Groves, but would also help tie in the three systems. I have bought 3 different commercial-made Palm Beach County maps. They pretty much stop at Folsom. They don't even include the acreage area. I've gone to a couple planning printing firms, and they're agreeing to work with me in producing one. And I've also been in contact with Palm Beach County traffic engineering offices to get such a map so that a master plan of the 3 trail systems could be produced. And that's where I am in that process.
Keith, I have a map.
Of the 3,
Oh, yeah.
that's to scale.
Well, I assume so, it's one map.
Okay.
Not only that, but there's Google Earth, and that's what actually Palm Beach County works off, and
And
these
my
are
computer
maps.
does not allow me to print it off.
Right, I can print them actually, and
But I have a printer company that will take such a map and can enlarge it to any size sheet I'd like, so that it'd be more easily readable to the presentation, to the traffic engineering, to see not only the roads and their locations, but the trails in relation to the roads.
Okay, this, for example, I went to the county, I received, if you know the right people, you can receive maps directly from them. They're electronic. These were roughly 4 of almost that size, not quite a square, because our town is square. It's usually the 36 by 24, 4 of them, and put the 4 together, made the whole map, and laid all of that out. And it's all, the reason why they were that big is because in that particular case, I wanted to see our easements. I wanted to actually be able to see where is the road, where is the canal, where's the, you can actually do that at a smaller scale and get that.
This is fabulous. You give me a contact and we're on our way.
I can, you know, I mean,
Or
I
if,
request the right map.
or if you wish to make the request, that'd be great too.
And,
we should
and I can
all
also,
copy that.
I can also print out of Google Earth.
That would be brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did that.
Because I've been working the same thing as Keith, and it's not easy to put the three of them together.
No, and the Wellington map, you guys weren't there yet, but that was one of the things that I gave everybody back then. I printed, got big prints done for everybody, and I just didn't do that again when you guys came on. I gave you all the little stuff. I'm sorry.
The key is to have,
Nice.
the key is to have a scale, the key is to have a scale map of the three areas to help sell the idea that not only this is gonna help Waxahachie Groves for safety of crossing of Okeechobee, but to give the county the incentive, my goodness, we're tying in three of our communities' trail systems. And I think that is a benefit to sell the project.
The other thing is the NANA map, and I actually printed that for another meeting. It's in one of my folders in the back there. But you guys are all familiar with the NANA map as well, right? The NANA map shows the county maps. If you have it at the office, I gave one to Mark to have at the office. I've printed one out quite large. I can bring that one in. I didn't bring it in now. And then we can even take that map that we have and plug it into
Oh,
that
right. That'd be-
potentially.
That would be
Then
helpful.
you kind of get a stage of, okay, here we are, then the bigger, here are the two towns, and then the even bigger, here's, you know, the whole NANA picture of it. And because that is part of connecting all of that, and their own county is working on that.
I like Keith said, I think it's a valid point, especially if we're going forward, if we can show the connectivity between all of the state parks and the facilities for horses, then it's gonna be a much easier road for us to hoe on the tour.
I am a little bit concerned at the comment of, you think with this, then they'll come. We are there now, we've been there. If anything, we're shying away a little bit more from crossing Okeechobee over the years. I mean, and we're crossing at all the points at this point, and the fact is, the county has who knows how much development on the books, and we need to be able to continue crossing in certain places safely, and that goes for anybody on a greenway, in a golf cart, or on a horse. I
Well,
mean,
Keith, are you finished?
Well, I'd like to say that I think Mark would agree with me that Mr. Weisberg making that comment was in a positive note of, oh, well, if you're right now concerned about quantity of count to verify the need of it, you're really saying you're not really using it yet, but as you develop this, it will bring more and more riders to it. So he was working with us, not using it as a negative response. He was trying to suggest that as the trail system develops, it will be used more, and this is one of the keys, having a controlled crossings.
was that in reference to the count, in reference to having people along Okeechobee or crossing in those particular places? And how
Cross.
does he even measure a cross like that? It's not a tire, it goes over a wire, you'd have to
He
actually.
was gonna have technicians come out here and just sit and watch and see how many horses went down the road. And that's why I suggested that it may be premature doing that, because you might only see one an entire day right now. As our trail system is almost ready to be official, it's being used, these crossings will help benefit and motivate the use of our trails, and will allow a safe crossing, not only for horses, but for pedestrians and bicyclists and the whole thing.
Well, I went ahead and took that one map, and I also took, you can see the large size of that, this is from 2012.
That's what I was,
We have obviously we've had a lot of equestrian classifications been added since then. And, it's here, you know, and then I basically drew this up, and I can layer on, and, you know, I'm quite savvy on the Photoshop. So I put layers into it, and then just marked out the bottom layer and put this one in instead, so I could actually technically take any county map that's off the.
That's great. What I'm looking
Change
for is
things up.
basically at the scale road map with the boundaries being Pratt Whitney, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, North Lake Boulevard,
Okay.
and Lake Worth Road. With those 4 boundaries, that gives you all the areas that the trail systems of the 3 municipalities fall in, and then it would be easy to work on enlarging it to a very easy review scale, and then just color code the trails. It would cut the work time in, oh my goodness, 2 to 3 hours versus 20 hours. To sit down and actually sit there and manually draw the entire 3 systems.
I'll give you, if she can get that later, right? Now, I of course didn't understand you properly, I would have gone further, so we just use the local one. Do you want to see?
Oh, there's to the public, sure.
I haven't.
Public.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, you got one? Sure.
No, I'm just trying to run out.
It's okay.
All right, so you can see with me. So I basically took the same one, and I'm not saying that those colors, I can change those colors easily, but, because I didn't flatten everything to be printed somewhere, I just printed it as it would be, it becomes, if it's, and this is actually large enough, this thing is large enough to put on something like that. I think I made it the 26 inches across and down, and then added some.
Is there a scale for the colors? I mean, is there?
No, I haven't done that yet, and the reason why is I really wasn't so set on the colors in the first place, and I figured we'd be
no.
working on
What
this.
does he mean?
What do they, yeah.
Well, this was
Yellow.
pretty much this was the original MREG trail, if you want, so the blue.
The blue one,
Right. And then the yellow was all the other things that we had discussed.
yeah.
You see the 300-foot linear park in there.
Mhm.
I just left that there, that's that little riding circle we're getting out of there. And this is the park with the trails. And then you have the 772 acre, I'm sorry?
The pink ones?
Pink lines. The red lines were actually on that map. That is how the map came, because originally I asked for the road easements. Now, unfortunately, when they put in road easements, they find private
Little
easements, they
lanes
find
and.
all kinds of things that are not for us to, they're not specifically water control, canal maintenance easements, as what I was of course looking for. So you have a little bit of that, and most of the stuff is over it. That's what these really small lines are from. And I would have to get a different map in order to lay that under without the red lines. Otherwise, you know. Now, you know, you could then add to it from there, but this, and then I just simply wanted to show the yellow linking line and then the light on D road if that comes to fruit. It is in a way a little version of the lattice map,
Mhm.
just
Yeah, it's pretty much
executed,
what we all talk
Yeah.
about.
just executed now on top of an actual map. And then, I mean, we can play with it. It was just a start.
Okay, well, what I was thinking, and before I forget, I need the name of the grant that would be due in September.
No, I have all of that with me, and actually I was going to say that, I forgot to say it while we went over the agenda. I have all, because it's not on there and should have been on there, I have all that information for you guys with me.
Great.
And I don't know if you want to wait until it comes to committee member remarks or before that. It's up
Okay.
to you guys, but I have all of that, defer that.
You know, I know we made this, and this still sort of works, but what I'm wondering is, because A Road has been worked on, and it's so nice, we might wanna consider, just because it's so close to being what we want, to extend that and do A instead of B.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
I think that for the flow of whatever it is that you use to help with traffic, every other road makes more sense as a motorist driving down. If this is a signal and this is a signal and this is a signal, it makes more sense in your rhythm of driving that it's gonna be B instead of next all the way down. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
I was talking about, see this blue?
Mhm.
This is what we talked about, this would be our initial trail,
Okay,
so that it, you know, everybody's included. But instead of having it at B, if we move it over to A,
uh-huh.
because A has
It-
just been
Oh, I
refurbished.
see.
It is so
We weren't
nice.
talking about these.
No, no, no.
I gotcha.
I have a question regarding that, and that's the proximity of the school. I'm not sure that we're gonna be able to get the Lincoln right there, that close to the school. Maybe,
You
or who
already-
knows,
you
maybe it'll be
already-
the other way
you already-
around, maybe
you
it'll
already
be
have it set up
easier.
that- You already have it set up that, but the MREG specifically was calling for BNF roads.
Yeah.
And the comp, I'm sorry, my memory is slipping here, so I can't make a comment unless I know it's correct, so.
The comp plan has been changed.
To change it from BNF roads? Was it inclusive
It's
specifically
no longer
BNF?
specifically asking for BNF, it's asking for crossings.
Just crossings, okay.
And that was the part of the reason why we were either going to say kind of agree that the MREG's a bit outdated and we leave it like that until we are given further instructions, or we were going to deal with the MREG in reference to those issues.
Well, to move it to A road would have benefits, but it also eliminates B, C, D, or C and D. If you have to go all the way over to A or F and there's no trail along Okeechobee, those folks won't be using the trail system, because it would be just, they would have to go all the way up to north and over and back down to get across Okeechobee at the crossing, because there is no trail along Okeechobee.
Well, if I'm at D, and I am, it doesn't matter to me whether I've got to go to B or A.
Because you would go to F.
Not necessarily. I mean, the way this one is set up, I'd be right in the middle, but it really doesn't matter. And this was just, the reason we were doing a circuit rather than just doing F and then proceeding in order was to quickly give more residents an opportunity to meet the trail.
Well, it'd be great
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
have a crossing
yeah.
at every single letter road. That would be,
Well, no, I meant just to establish the trail. I mean, yes, we have trails, but they're not maintained. We don't actually have a trail that you can look at. And, you know, F Road is close. Yeah, they're coming.
Actually, E Road is beautiful to ride on. There are people on it every day on both sides.
Is it
Even though it's not
maintained?
completely open at the south side,
Yeah,
they're on it
that's what I
every
mean.
day, every day.
They're not ready. What we need at least one segment that is completed, that we can look to and say, this is what our trail system is going to be. You know? I mean, at least get one segment that has appropriate signage, is maintained, it's fenced, F Road already has the fence.
what exactly are we talking about though? Are we trying to get at where the
We're-
dollar should be spent? Are we getting off the,
Well, it's a-
I'm not quite,
That's a start. I mean, that dollars we spend would be nice, that would be a start. But what I'm saying is, even to write the grants, we've got nothing really to point to. And as an example of what we're working towards.
but that's not what we have to do in a grant. What you get paid for in a grant, the planning, you don't get paid for, which is one of the issues I had with the way the last one was submitted. You get paid for the construction of, you know, you give them the vision, tell them this is what you want to, this is how you want to build it. And then you receive, you offer a grant match. You get points for reaching this park and reaching this park and having destinations for connecting outside of your own, outside of your own area. Now, you're only going to get maximum $200,000 a year per grant. Okay, I mean, you can certainly ask for several.
But how,
But then you're going to go and say, okay, this is the section we're going to do now, and they're gonna come maybe down and say, okay, let's write this thing. And then, of course, you want that to look the part. But saying that this is the overall plan that you want to eventually achieve. And now, at this point, we're working on getting this to here finished. Is perfectly acceptable to have the grand plan and then look at each section and do it little by little. But you don't have to have something done and in place in order to get a grant.
it helps though.
I'm not disagreeing with you that we shouldn't finish some of the things we've started. You know, F and E roads are both places that have been started. And I don't, you know, we've talked about many times that this last piece to that connection to the park, that easement needs to be prepared in some sort of manner. That, you know, the collapsing of the canal at that point here is things like that. You know, that absolutely here, that the gate design that we had, that gets put up instead of a gate that is closed at this area. North Lake, these people have been begging to get something different there on where what used to be 40th. They've been wanting to go on North Road Canal on the opposite side, and they are 40,000 that the Water Control District, I believe, has agreed today, is that correct? That the IGC has agreed today to transfer to the town to be used. So there are actually funds there specifically for that area. But I'm not quite sure how this has to do with the agenda item. I'm a little confused.
The agenda item, as I understood it from the last meeting, was that we were going to discuss the vision of the trail because we have new members.
No, but we're not, what we decided on, just because every time you get a new member, you don't start saying, okay, let's start all from scratch again. I mean, what we decided on, we decided
That's
on.
right, yeah.
Right. So it's getting them up to par and up to date on what we've decided on and then going from there, right?
All right, we can do that.
Which is what I believe I tried to do when I handed them like a lot of the paperwork and so forth in the beginning when they came. And then as little issues come up, we inform them of things that have been decided on prior. Is there anything else that?
It's not the agenda item, the control process.
Can I go back to the agenda item,
Yes.
Yes.
which is the controlled crossings?
Yes.
Okay. I have a, you know, I have an idea that may help with a lot of the future planning and with the safety, with motorists, and with equestrians as well. I am both a driver of a car, a driver of a horse trailer, and a rider of a horse. And I have to say that crossing Okeechobee is daunting in any of those vehicles. So, given that it sounds like to me, expansion of the road eventually is going to happen, and that more and more motorists, as much as we would not like for that to happen, are going to be using that road. I personally think that a roundabout should be considered on those crossings. And I've done some work and regarding safety and the expense or the lack, the lesser expense of them, the lesser expense of them. Would you like one of those? I think, did I pass out my master somewhere?
Yes.
Say master on the top? Can I have that back?
No.
Come on now. Come on, Jigga. Come on.
Be careful, it's gonna
Hand
have
it up.
minutes, we joke around too much.
And it's just
Having
something
some
that,
fun with yours.
that especially given that Loxahatchee Groves is trying to be its own rural community, I think that this would lend a distinction to the area. It would also be a lot more beautiful. It's clearly safer. It's much easier to manage as a pedestrian. And it's something that I think would be in keeping with a rural community. And it would be easier to grow with the eventuality of a growing road. You don't have to pluck up signals and move them over. You can easily go from a one-lane ingress egress to 2-lane because the size of your circle is already for 2 lanes. It allows for horse trails, pedestrian trails of whatever kind on either side and easy crossing. And I think that if we want to present connectivity and then also have it be something that the rest of the town is in accordance with and that the actual equestrians are going to use, to me personally, this is a better option than a traffic signal. I mean, I honestly would never in my lifetime cross Southern Boulevard on a horse. Never in my life. Unless there was a raging fire behind us, and I wouldn't do it.
I have a friend of mine who does it with her children, but it's, it's
I just,
their
you know,
her personal choice.
right? I mean,
She gets off the horse, presses the button,
And runs
gets on
like
real
that.
fast. So, that in the future, there will be a signal for her up on top.
And even that, you know what I'm saying is that, and if change of Okeechobee is going to somehow start to look like that, the only way Loxahatchee Groves is going to have a chance of keeping it is by setting up its own little community with its own little demarcation. This is a demarcation. Hello, you are Loxahatchee Groves. Slow down. There are pedestrians, there are people, there are golf carts, other than fencing the whole community off, this is then maybe that's next, but I think this is a great way to start. My personal opinion.
That was one of the suggestions in the MREG. The one suggestion I think that was strange it was missing were stop signs. Because the traffic count back then justified the stop signs and not anything
But
else.
stop signs don't reduce the risk of right-hand collisions and people not running them. Traffic circles do. You must slow to go through a traffic circle. You must. You can't go through the middle of it. I mean, you could if you don't put something there that requires that you don't, that keeps you from doing it. But a nice big cypress tree is gonna say, you can't drive through the middle of the traffic circle. Rumble strips.
Do you think it'll still, I would love to see Okeechobee continue to be 2-laned and quiet and not bisect our town and for most of that traffic not to go through us. If it gets 4-laned, I've been in Hollywood, I've seen the circles down there. I also used to go quite often.
Those are circles. This is a roundabout. There's a difference between a traffic circle and a roundabout.
Well, the one in downtown Hollywood is a roundabout.
Okay.
The other
Yeah,
two
that's
circles
the one I
going
was
out on
thinking.
Hollywood Boulevard, they're
Right.
circles.
And they're in Coral Gables.
And there is the one in Royal Palm Beach Boulevard that you go through that has very little traffic coming into it from the east-west direction. so there's a steady stream pretty much going down north-south. And the people still fight to get into that one. But I think on the grand scheme of things, you'd be fighting less to get into it than you would be with nothing there.
Well, you know, I'm not an engineer, I don't really know, my research was based on things that I hear from the town council meetings and from our meetings that seem to, would have an impact on these connectivity crossings, and that is cost, expense, longevity. The initial expense is pretty much gonna be it, there's no maintenance, there's no hurricane ripping it down, there's no, once it's a traffic circle, it is always a traffic circle, nothing's gonna blow it over, they're not gonna come disconnected, the lights aren't gonna be out, it will always run as a traffic or roundabout. And it's, again, it slows traffic, there's no way you can, and for those people who don't wanna drive slow around a roundabout, guess what? They can go to Southern.
And this would work, I mean, the larger cities have these, 2 10 lanes.
Absolutely, look at Rome.
Yeah. Well, in Mexico City.
The rules
a
are
lot of
different there and
places.
how you deal with the roundabout.
Very interesting concept.
It's a-
Feasibility is going to be the opportunity at hand of funding.
Space.
No?
Space, if they're planning on laning it, it's
They
gonna
have
be
to,
space.
if they have to increase the size of the road, the roundabout will fit no matter what.
You would still have to get the horses and pedestrians, it's not just the actual physical, it's also what goes on around the side and over.
The right of ways for the trail systems, and once you lay out this.
And the canals.
There's plenty of other images that include bigger and smaller pedestrian circles around, throughout. There are many ways to accomplish this, it's just one quick.
Right. It'd be, we're looking at conceptual, not getting down to.
Exactly.
Doing
I'm
the
ju-
plans
this
and
is-
specifications and grades and whatnot.
Exactly, and I'm thinking too, that the amount of them through our letter roads would really curtail the traffic. And again, open up all those roads, it would only be, what, a mile in between each for an equestrian or a pedestrian, to make it either way they wanted to go.
You'd have to. It's gonna be a hard sell to the county today, so it was my suggestion to take Okeechobee over.
Well, if they're thinking of putting, no, that's not necessarily true. Because all of these recommendations are from the transportation department, that they highly suggest that where people are considering putting in a traffic light, they consider this first, if it is feasible. I can give you those
No, I agree
documents
with
as
you.
well.
I prefer a roundabout over,
And so does the Department of Transportation. It's greener.
assuming that we can have the space for it, and assuming that we have, including the trails, et cetera, everything getting across.
Right.
The, getting it done is,
Well, clearly getting anything done is, dot.
well, it's not something, the lights was something that the town would have paid for, probably. And this is something you're gonna look at the county for to do. Yes, it is a county road, but right now, there's $0 on the 5-year budget for Okeechobee Road, which is kind of a good thing at the moment, given the fact that everything's.
Well, if there's no
happening.
dollars for lights,
There's nothing.
then it's a moot point. But when there is a dollar suggested, I think that we should move forward. As the majority of the town that Okeechobee bisects, bifurcates, we should have some say in what it looks like.
It is warming up a very, very old idea. I don't know if you realize that, but I think
I've only been here
we're
for
on
9
jail
months.
and if you read the MREG, we had it on the agenda.
It
often
didn't look
enough.
like this.
Well, there was, in the meat of the Emmerich study, it made references to roundabouts.
Right, so as a solution.
And there has been town council discussion, if you review the minutes over the past several years of considering roundabouts. There has been some conversation about it, but like most things, it just never went anywhere. This has some merit, Joe.
Concerns, I will tell you who has brought up concerns, people with horse trailers, going around and having
If a
enough
fire
space.
truck can
I'm
go
just
around.
I'm just telling you, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you that if a fire truck can go around it, a horse trailer that breaks in half can absolutely go around it, unless you are
Mark, any thoughts?
Yes, ma'am.
horse trailer.
Any thoughts?
In general, I like roundabouts. I think they're a very good vehicle to use in roadways. They are recommended, yes. I think one of the things that would probably come into play as it relates to Luxatchi Groves and the county would be, it requires much more right-of-way. So if you're near a canal, that's gonna be some construction costs, because now they have to look at trying to navigate the canal and get the roundabout in place. Plus, there would probably be some transition required on some of our roadways, which are OGM, because I don't think the county's gonna accept the OGM, so they're gonna wanna do that transition. It's gonna be a greater asphalt section. Before our management company came on board, I believe the town actually commissioned a study by, I believe, Calvin Giordano, specifically relative to roundabouts, not the Emmerich now, but roundabouts on Okeechobee. And I'll see if I can dig that up.
Ah, brilliant.
And if you would like, I'll provide it to you for your next agenda, and we could look at it. I've never read it, never had the reason to, but obviously now, since this is food for thought, I'd like to take a look at it and see just what they recommended and what they said in it. It's a really thick study. So,
I remember several references in the town council minutes over the past years to it. I just can't recall specifics or.
and were you proposing a standard like 80-foot radius?
I think there's a scale, and actually I know there is a scale, it depends on the number of lanes, the size of lanes, and going into it, and how much, if you want a no merge lane, and all of that can be, they said there's very.
Well, if you have the standard 80-foot radius, you can get the fire trucks like you're talking about, and you can probably get the horse trailers. You can probably get almost any vehicle, any truck that's carrying. I mean, I think they can all negotiate or navigate it if you got the 80-foot radius work.
Mark, do you think we have enough space at that point? Because you remember the entrances of these roads right now, a lot of times we don't have a full width of 2 lanes as it is. So.
But on the other.
Let me just finish my thought. I'm not against roundabouts, just so you know, I'm trying to find the holes and see whether we can fix them, just for clarity, okay? So don't get too worried, I'm just trying
But
to,
as a concept,
as a
we
concept,
all agree that this is something that we really want to keep at the forefront
well,
for Okeechobee.
I'm trying to see whether the space available makes it even feasible when you're then trying to get horses across here and over and people across here and golf carts across here. Do you think it's doable?
Well, it depends at what point you're talking about. Are you talking about at the point where the county acquires all the right-of-way they need if their intention is to make it 4 lanes? Because it will make, to answer your question, it will make a difference.
And remember, what we had originally talked about also was that we were going to need the space for trails on both sides if they were going to make this 4 lanes. Because unless you make a roundabout at every intersection.
I mean, I know the county has acquired right-of-way along with Okeechobee, I believe it's on the south side, because most of those properties that were like 5 acres end up being like 4.9 acres or whatever. And sometimes we've had people come in with development proposals or asking development questions, we have to talk about that and let them know that, the right-of-way was acquired, but you still have a legal lot of record, you can develop it.
Yeah, most of the south side entrances from onto Okeechobee are grandiose.
I don't think they have all the right-of-way they need to do a 4-lane, to do an expansion of 4-lane plan. I doubt it,
They bought, because when they came in and it was 2 lane, it was just all dirt road, and I think they just bought little pieces of it.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, you're gonna see big, I mean, there'll be a lot of time to discuss, to talk about that. If they decide they're gonna go 4-lane, they're gonna have to start acquiring a lot of right of way. And that's gonna be a whole different issue.
Well, but my thought for that was, why not have this ready if that is gonna be the case to present to them? Because if they're gonna be taking a lot of land in order to put in 4 lanes, it might as well, present as a town that track roundabouts are what we'd like. They can be prepared to accommodate.
That's a good approach, sure. Show them you're thinking out of the box, so that, because sometimes you have to nudge traffic engineers a little bit to think out of the box. I mean, they have a goal in mind is to move traffic. You
Sure.
know that. I mean, so.
Well, they should be having a goal in mind to move all traffic, not just cars. And that's what is the big problem here in Florida, because traffic does not mean just cars. Transportation does not just
What does it
mean,
mean?
people, bicycles, golf carts, horses, cars, all are traffic.
That's why you have bike lanes.
Motorcycles, you name it, they're all traffic.
That's why you have bike lanes.
I mean, they're all transportation, I guess. I don't know, they're all traffic, but they're all transportation.
I'll stand by my statement though. Most traffic engineers are trying to move traffic. That's their primary goal.
But
Well,
it's,
this moves traffic, absolutely.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I'm not saying that they would necessarily be against it. I think there are a lot of traffic engineers are changing their views because this has come back. I mean, it was a system that was used a lot in the old days, and then it was kind of forgotten. And now it's coming back into vogue.
Huge.
Yeah.
That letter that we have, that you have from a traffic consultant that was saying traffic that proceeds at 30 miles an hour without lights and everything
moves more.
actually moves more quickly than if you had a higher speed limit but traffic lights.
Right.
And this would feed into that.
Yes.
So actually, we could make a very strong case for that.
Sure. Yeah. This is very interesting. Really?
How do we deal with this? Because I think you can't. I think the idea was to go and figure out how to support Pete's blinking lights. So while this may be a consideration, how do we deal with both things on the table at the same time? You guys already did a visit to the engineer.
Well, let me give you my take on it, okay? I think, and Keith and I talked about it after the meeting, we walked out of there and we were like, wow. I mean, he's really looking to work with us. But as a traffic engineer, I mean, that's the reason why the word counts came into play. Number one, he wants to see if there is a system so that it's not disjointed, okay, that's continuous, but he's gonna look for some kind of count, some kind of scientific information, if you will, that justifies the expenditure. I mean, would you agree with that? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, but I mean, you can tell when somebody's trying to throw cold water on an idea, and I didn't get that impression. So I think you guys need to be as creative as possible in terms of making the argument in the case.
Because you wouldn't need an equestrian crossing count for something like this. This would just be a way to regulate traffic. And the fact that it helps with pedestrian and equestrian crossings is a benefit to our equestrian trails.
Except,
there isn't really anything saying that we couldn't have both.
True.
We can have roundabouts, but at other roads, have the crossings. And then we
Combination
have,
of- have
we
combination
have a
of-
lot more
True.
ability to get across Okeechobee.
True.
It almost seems like a crossing would work very close to a roundabout because you're already slowing down to
Mhm.
negotiate the roundabout.
and I think Royal Palm Beach would like
And there was no discussion with Mr. Weisberg of who was funding the lights.
Well, but that was also a minor expense in comparison.
Oh, sure.
Let's have the reality
Oh,
check
very,
on
very,
that one.
very, very much.
The only concern with, again, you need the space to get the horse pass. I don't wanna work all of this and then they go, guess what? I'll have room for the horses. Wonderful idea, we'll implement it, but no horses. I mean, that'd be like, it started here and then got shot in the foot, you know? But I would love to slow down the traffic on Okeechobee to make it less, to make it so that it is not bisecting the town as much as it is and will continue to do so, more so in the future with everything that's happening around us. So, I mean, not against it, I'm just trying to know what the issues are. I always do that, a little bit of devil's advocate, to go and dig up what's there. I think it's important. And you can
So
put things
spacing?
like that. Space, yeah, space and cost up.
Yeah.
Cost obviously, but so are all of my ideas. I mean, I really love to see islands there and almost like a cobblestone overlay when you hit every road, you know,
The rumble strips?
The rumble strips,
Mhm.
something like that.
Could I ask a question, just give you feedback on what I just heard you say, especially Mark just now with his right-of-way discussion and your A road, and just all of you, is like keeping your lights where they are. And A road is beautiful, you're right, it is beautiful. But talking about the future and A road, I mean, not to A road, but Okeechobee. And you talked about traffic and pedestrians. When you do right-of-ways, will they allow for, as they were talking about on Southern, for pedestrian paths on both sides of Okeechobee if you ask for it?
Okay, just before you answer, can you state your name and?
Oh, sorry.
I know
Virginia
we've been
Stan-
working this
No,
like a
I'm
workshop
sorry,
a little
Virginia
bit more.
Standish, 15410 Northward. Because the reason I'm asking, I'll tell you the conclusion. Looking at A Road, yes, it's beautiful, and I know you have your order on B Road, leaving the lights where they are. But if you also included A Road with no request for a light, or maybe a roundabout, or based on your concept, if you had those paths, because there's a huge horse farm on A Road. They come and they go. I'm not saying it's there forever. But people are going to go along Okeechobee on either side, and they are going to travel to those lights. So when you request those right-of-ways, if you request the pedestrian or the paths on each side, that those horses are going down no matter what. You could add A Road, keeping B Road. I mean, I know you're trying to make, I don't know if you're trying to make it square or not, but you could enhance your trail system.
It's probably negotiable when they, you know, just like FDOT, when they do a roadway, they'll come in and they'll have the public outreach, and they'll show you their plans, and they'll I think the county does try to do that as well, maybe not to that extent, but don't forget, this is a county road, so you're dealing with the county. And I think, you know, you can probably, I think some cities have been pretty successful in dealing with the county in being very vigorous and forceful in terms of what they want, and as long as it's not contradicting or causing a problem with the intended plans, it's probably workable.
Based on safety, the county's concerned about safety. So everything I've heard you say, you know, you're trying to safety, everything seems you're going for is safety. And I would think that would be a big issue in county, and asking for space on either side. Safety,
Yeah.
just hearing all you speak, it's
And I think that idea that you had of offsetting and not killing one because now you have another idea, maybe
That's
is
a good idea.
perfect thought. So that you're not, you know,
Well, one might pass, one may not, so the more arrows you shoot, the better the target you hit.
so, okay, so how do we go forward from there? Oh, just so you guys know, when I laid over this, and especially for you, Jim, in the audience, this of course is the classification that was done in 2012. There are many added, and there are many on there that are equestrians that are not on there that just don't ask for an ag classification, they just have, you know. So this doesn't necessarily reflect all the equestrians, there are many, many more above and beyond. So, just so that is clear, so it doesn't get misunderstood, but I thought it was a way of showing how we are scattered throughout. How do you want to, how should we go forward with this?
It's your call.
Thoughts?
Well, we've already had the town council approve the lights, and we should continue progressing with that. Do we make a recommendation to the town council to consider ground lights in addition to that?
Is that a motion? Should we make that a motion?
Is that where
Keith, we made the recommendation for the lights. And that had a pretty positive reaction,
Yes.
you know, and they said, what, yes, let's go ahead with this. So,
Well,
but we're stuck because we can't get a count.
we're not stuck. We are reassessing our presentation to the county to make the largest impact possible, to get their acceptance and approval of the project at hand. To come in with a second idea, first we need, town council to consider it. We need to point out how comprehensive use plan and policies would help support such a recommendation. Several factors that need to be looked at before we make a formal recommendation to it, so that we can sell it. It's got to be sold. It's got to be sold to town council. It's got to be sold to Palm Beach County.
Okay, do we need to look at the roads that we want to have the lights on? If we wanted to have roundabouts at different, we don't want to put the lights where we obviously want to have a roundabout eventually. Or we could, because everything is movable.
I would come up with, in your recommendation, a plan of actual locations you wish roundabouts to occur. And also comment how this is to supplement and complement the crossings. It would be beneficial with our policy 2.7.4, which is discourage cut-through traffic. Things of those items.
Okay.
Like that, is the
All right.
way to look at it.
It was my understanding that this item 5B was really in reference to giving you support documents or starting to work up support documents. So, this came in, and if you can read this agenda item, it still fits under the hub, but that's originally what I thought we were going to discuss, is how to.
The workshop was,
Yeah.
for
How to
the
do
lights, the crossings, and how to develop the presentation to Palm Beach traffic. We were looking at master plans, maps, maybe letters of coordination and support from the other municipalities. If we can demonstrate, if we go to Palm Beach County and say, Wellington wants this to occur, we want it to occur, Indian Trails wants it to occur, and we have documentation from those three entities, it will be, a feather. The more concrete you make it the presentation, the more acceptance it will receive.
Mark, I think there's something more also within when a county road bisects a town. Does not the town have a little bit more say about certain things in reference to being able to, there's, I've read something somewhere, I don't remember where that was anymore, about having input for things like speed and crossability and that sort of thing. Isn't there?
Well, I think that varies. Obviously, as a town, when you have the political clout for any kind of road that's in your town. You can certainly ask for certain kind of leeway on speed and things like that. But ultimately, I think what happens is you can try to make the case for it, but the county will still study it. Through their traffic engineering department, they're just not going to roll over because they do have jurisdiction of the roadway. And we have traffic control over all roadways, but that's kind of a coordinated effort between both the city and the county in most cases, you know.
So we, in a way, we have a little bit more power in reference to the light than we actually do in reference to creating a roundabout, is that? did I read
Well,
that correctly?
I don't know if I would say that. I mean, I know when we went in 2011 and had a meeting with Commissioner Santa Maria and George Webb and some of the county officials, at the time Mayor Browning had two things on the agenda based upon the council discussion at that time. One was to try to get a reduction in speed, and the other was to get the light. And I gotta tell you, the reduction in speed went up in flames. That was a non-starter. The light, they were willing to look at.
And I've spoken, you know.
Just to give you an idea.
So I've been at the county, you know, for several reasons, and I, you know, my conversations with George Webb as well as with Jess in my meetings, you know, I've brought up the horses, I've brought up the possibility, I've brought up the safety issues, I've brought up the issue that, you know, that this is bisecting our town. There is understanding now Jess is termed out, so he's can't run again. And, you know, it's, right now, we still have him, and he's going to be on our side a little bit more to make this possible. I don't know who's going to be in the seat next. We have 3 running for a seat. Should we,
Can we look at other communities for precedent? I mean, is Jupiter using these? I can't remember seeing any, like in Jupiter Farms.
I'm not familiar with it.
Jupiter Farms is gated, isn't it?
No,
So
I
you
mean,
drive through.
what's the town that you came from, down in, but that's Broward, of course. Davie. What's the town actually called that has horse crossings and so forth? It's,
That was Davey.
West Davie, I thought it had a
Yeah,
change.
we had a lot of horse trails. We were actually very famous for that.
Mhm.
But you know, in Davie, they ride everywhere. They used to ride up. My office was close to the arena, rodeo arena. They'd ride right in the street, right by my office. I mean, you know, and it was very accepted. It was very, you know, because that's just the environment.
Right. Well, when you have enough people out there, generally it creates a feeling of, it's like riding motorcycles as a bunch, you know? Gives you a sense of security. I don't know what you guys want me to do. Do you want me to present it, or do you want to sit on it, think about it till next time? What is it you would like?
Well, I would think we would have to make a motion to do that, and the motion would be a conceptual motion, or with specifics. We want a roundabout at such and such intersections, or we just wanted you to consider roundabouts in addition to traffic lights and controlled crossings.
My advice to you, I wouldn't put the council in that kind of position yet. I would do some more study on your part. I mean, you don't have to resolve this in 1 or 2 meetings. You can work on it. That's why I indicated, you know, I'll see if I can get that study and provide it to you in your next agenda and look at it and start.
The more.
Well, because you know, you want to be sure
The more meat you
of what
have.
you're recommending, but, you know, put council in a position where they have to, you know.
but we could still move forward on the lights.
Sure.
Yes, and I want to get back to that, so we're.
And if I can get a map from one of you folks, I can put the master plan together.
Okay, I'll see
Okay,
whether I
so-
can get a different map, or either that, or if you can, do you have something more than? Do you have something more than this? This is very, very, very hard to read.
Well, I only have one, but I'll let you have it.
Yes, I have something, yes, that's what I have, the complete,
Okay.
I have the complete one, I have a complete one from Wellington. Again, it's just, I need a roadmap of all the
Okay.
area of,
You just have to have one of
This
those here
is
too.
the part of, check that out, is that good enough for Loxahatchee for you? Because that's the map, I just blew up the little section I wanted, but I have the whole map.
again, if you could give me a print, and it can be an 8x11, if you can give me a copy of the section of all the roads that are between North Lake and Lake Worth, Pratt Whitney and Royal Palm, then I can take it to a printer and blow it up and make a master trail system for the 3 areas.
Be careful, some things will fall apart when you blow them up, but the problem with this is that this is about the same as what I have on that map now,
Yeah.
roughly.
The only problem with this map is that, you know how we have roads here that have dual names,
Certainly.
so they're not, both names are not on there.
Well, the reason why I want specifically the map is to show the connection between
Connectivity.
in the trails and Loxahatchee, to show where we can make connections for the trails. It would also show between Loxahatchee and Wellington where B and F cross from Loxahatchee over to the trail system, to show the connectivity when someone's looking at that you can go on a horse trail on Lake Worth Road, and if you want, there's a method to get all the way up to North Lake.
If I can get you a map, you know, and obviously you won't have to worry about so much details anymore. You really don't have to worry about all these little roads.
No.
It doesn't have to
The
be there.
primaries.
As a matter of fact, it's better if they're not, because it just becomes
A blur.
illegible stuff.
Too much clutter.
If I can get you a map similar to this one, and then,
I prefer a road map and not showing the satellite imagery of the different parcels, whatnot, just the actual road locations.
okay.
Then I can sit there on my table and put in the trails where they go, using these as a reference.
This is the problem. I can get all of the roads in there, but then you're gonna show all of the roads, which when you're blowing up, or you're going to go and, as I'm going out further, it's gonna start omitting some roads, but choose certain roads. Or you get
That's fine, but
you get
still,
maps like road maps where they're, like the Wellington equestrian map is not a real map. It's not to scale, it's not
No.
anything, it's an artist rendering, is what it is. And that's also your problem, is that the trails are extensive in Wellington, they're tough to get in there.
Oh, yes. But I go on the internet, pick up the Wellington Trail System, and you can blow it up to a point where you can see everything to use as a model to draw this master plan, and that's what I'm trying to do. I just need something to work.
But this is just a road map, and so you can cut it and blow it up and have whatever
Exactly,
you
I've
want.
just been trying to find a road map that has all the areas that I can put together, and first was finding a Palm Beach County road map, and all of them show pretty much from Royal Palm to the ocean.
Yes,
But from Royal Pond West, it's usually the big block where all the names of the streets are, and you go to block B, number A, and that's where you can find it on the map. They just don't show it because it's an incorporated area, and not developed. And just, you look at atlases.
We can all dig for stuff and see if we find something. Mark, would you be so kind if we do find something to forward it to Keith, and, because obviously we can't hand it to him directly.
Right.
Just to be able to kind of move along and not keep you guys here for too long. The other thing is you have this at the office,
Yeah.
correct? So there are several, you can have a peek at it here. It's already at the office, it's already with that public record in a way, isn't it? Can I show it to
What,
him?
what do you want?
Well, he can just look for things that might be of interest to him that he might be able to grab. Or do you just want him to do that at the office?
We can leave, I can get a copy.
I mean, I just can't give this copy up because I don't have any left.
But I think probably too, one thing that one of you may want to do as a research project is to check in the county and find out where and if they have installed If they haven't installed any countywide, you know, it's gonna be a little tougher for you to make the case, because you're really not sure.
Well, we had-
If they have, then find out the conditions, what it took for them to approve those crossings, and then use that as part of your argument.
I can call the woman that spoke at the Landowner Association to us about the main amount. If anybody knows, she knows, I would think.
You know, in the meeting with Mossberg, I mentioned the actual, the question, crossing, control crossing at the intersections of South Lake Boulevard and Pearson, just east of South Lake, and commented how it even had a left-hand turn signal coming out of the Global Dressage Center on it. And he said, oh, yes, I need to go out and look at that. I know of the locations, the same vendor and manufacturer that I used in my study furnished those. And David Burton, one of the partners and family members of WEF, was the one that just purchased the ones for Pearson. And I'll talk to David and get some information that would be a good support for our argument. Yes.
And then you have the pictures that I gave you, there are several pictures in there of that very same crossing.
Yes.
That you can have, you know, and if you need a particular picture, tell Mark to get it for me, I guess. And it's okay for me to.
There's two on Pearson, there's one on Wellington Trace, there's one down on Lake Worth near the polo fields, you know, so. It can be demonstrated that.
The difference might be, though, that they put them by Wellington or by the county. Because if it's in Wellington's jurisdiction, they might have done that.
No.
I'm thinking of Dan particularly in terms of what.
Palm Beach County. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
all right.
exactly.
Well, then
Yeah.
that can be researched too, sure.
Yeah.
No, but I think what he was saying is we were going to research the county, but in order to go and have an example that was already there and that we know of, was that not, that's what I understood.
Well, Mark was saying if you could show the county that they've done it elsewhere, that would lead to.
So in our meeting with Dan at first, he really kind of indicated he wasn't all that up to speed, but yet, as the meeting went along, I felt he did know a lot more about it than maybe he wanted to admit. So obviously, you know, if they have done some, then we should be able to find out, you know, what are they using as their criteria to approving these. Now, if it's, some city sits, you know, depending on where it's at in the city may have all the authority to do that, and the county wouldn't be involved. Not their jurisdiction, it's not a county road.
Well, Pearson, South Lake, I don't know if they're county or village of Loveton Road, so,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
It's a good question.
So anything else on that subject? No?
No,
Should we
fine.
move on?
Please.
Let's see, gotta find my agenda. Moving on to item 5C, discussion of 2 humans to 1 horse regulation.
I think you
I
took it
was
off.
struck that, didn't
Yeah,
I?
you struck that.
You, no, I thought we didn't strike that. I'm confused.
Janet?
We did. Oh, we did strike it, yes, we did strike
Yeah.
it, you're right. Okay, moving on to 6, administrative update, town manager.
Not really much to report unless you have any questions about it.
IGC meeting, anything new,
No. Not really, we just covered,
other than the 40,000 that I mentioned earlier?
well, that wasn't really new, but, you know, we'll take care of that. It's just that nobody was ever contacted on the town end, but we were trying to find that out. And so, now that we know where we are, now we'll try to move forward.
In an IGC meeting back in the fall, it was said that they had it, and it was for that purpose of North Road, and John Ryan was ready to write the check and hand it to you right then and there.
Right, that's correct, so I just wanted to know whether,
But that's one side. On our side, nobody's ever talked about it, or,
well, Tom seemed to ask
Tom
about it.
didn't know about it.
What do you mean Tom didn't know?
He was,
I know that.
he was the representative.
He knows about the grant. We didn't, understand what I'm saying. The district went ahead and took action and just decided to change their local agreement and give the 40,000 to the town, but it was never discussed in any town council meeting
No, town
or
council.
by town management or anything, and that's what we're trying to find out.
Okay.
So because you have one board taking a unilateral action and now the other, I don't want my
Yeah, I
council
get
to be
you.
a rubber
I
stamp, you
understand.
understand?
I
That's
understand you. No, absolutely. I misunderstood what you said. Go ahead.
Jim Rocket, 43rd Road North. I believe between last fall and today, there was a question, because we had an agreement with the county, Water Control District of the county.
right.
They had to make sure that they could transfer that fund to the town and still meet the agreement that they were under. That I have never heard an update on, you know, as to what the answer was from the county. If they're ready today discussing, you know, transfer, then hopefully they crossed that bridge, so to speak.
Yeah.
They actually have, the Board of Supervisors actually acted on it and have, you know, transferred the interlocal agreement to the town. The issue was when Frank Palin of the district's law firm sent Mike and I a letter, he said, well, this has already been discussed, and Mike and I were like, well, we're not so sure. It was discussed as widely as he may be indicating, because I had heard about the 40,000 too. I think we all had heard about it in some fashion. But there just never was you never had a policy discussion from the
No,
council.
I just thought there was still an unknown
Yeah.
confirmation that the agreement was not yet
And I'll be-
transferable. Nobody knew that at the time.
Right.
I heard the last discussion. Everybody was ready to do it. We didn't, it's correct, we haven't as a council, because it wasn't like ready for us to discuss.
And we'll be discussing that Tuesday. So, that's-
Okay. So it's on the agenda. Beautiful. I think, have you made any headway in reference to the signs? Do you had, she had a question for me today.
Well, the signs will be on the agenda.
The signs.
It's on as an agenda, it's under a miscellaneous budget request to council, because there have been several projects that have been approved, and a funding source was never identified, so I'm addressing that. But in the case of the signs, I'm also bringing forward your recommendation. That is one that council has not yet taken action on as to whether they're gonna fund that.
But we had discussed about having it on all, we're talking about the replacement of the brown sign, not the diamond sign. So, and nor the trail sign. In reference to that, we had said all the main entrances, and obviously that would be all the letter roads coming off Okeechobee.
Yes,
However,
except
there'd
on
be-
the south end where they don't go through, like C and E, A, where they don't go through to Southern, they just go to Collecting Canal. It's basically for traffic coming into Los Angeles.
Right, but if I come in from Royal Palm Beach and take a ride on E Road, or on, well, not E Road, maybe a bad example, but on C Road.
From Okeechobee? Yeah,
Then do I have a sign there or do I not?
yes you do.
Okay, that was what I thought.
Anywhere,
But and also from F Road from Southern you would,
yes.
and
And
on
F Road.
on B Road from Southern, D Road from Southern. And then
And
from
F.
the other side, you
F,
would
D,
have
and Z.
something, would you have something by the bridge? I don't know quite how
What
you
about
would do that.
Sunsport?
I put it
At
at
Sunsport,
D
that's
and
what I'm
E.
getting at.
That's where most of the traffic from the bridge, they take either E or D.
Okay. There is one there, I found one on E Road, it's an old brown sign. But I think it would be nice to have something uniform at that point and not worry about that one sign. So you got an approximate count now, right? Because that was the question.
F-17.
Good. There we go. Comments from the public?
She's still writing her dissertation.
He's still reading his agenda.
I'll start. Just two quick comments. I think it's fantastic that you're taking it slow. The term master plan concerns me though, Keith. I hope we're just talking about trails and you use that, although we could probably use your wisdom in other areas. But please bear in mind that in addition to the 40,000, when you're reviewing what's available, You may wanna have Mr. Cutney review the agreement with the title insurance company for the culvert on North Road. There was one or two sentences that the attorney insisted on, something regarding trails a couple years ago. You may wanna review what that agreement was or what the water district was supposed to commit to. On there may be an additional commitment you have coming. I don't believe it may, I'm not sure if it's financial or not, but just another piece of information you should research.
Jim, anything? No? Okay, moving on to committee members.
In order to give us the best possibility of meeting that grant in September
Mhm.
with the legislative process
Do you wanna
already.
hold your horses, do you want me to start that first then,
I just
hand
want
over
a
that
name.
Okay, I got a lot more than a name for you. And honestly, I meant to call her and ask her to add it because I didn't see it on it. I had reminded Mark, and then he got very busy, surely. And so, deferred up. I did.
I thought you were always.
Didn't we provide you with the
Always
Fernet
busy.
stuff, Kathy? I thought
No.
Braden got you that.
No,
No, well, what I did is I printed out the FERDAP stuff. I also called them up. Then because what they show right now is last year, September 15th, she said it'll be around the same time in September again. The FERDAP, you are competing with parks and not just recreational and equestrian trails as you did with the DEP, the other grant that we were looking at. This is the information on it, I wanted everybody to have it, so, and then in the front, I think, is the other one, the other trail, is in front of it, okay? The other, application, the March application that we're gonna miss, because we won't have the site control yet.
right.
Anybody else want, oh, no, I have extra. You?
Sure, I have them in front of the accounting.
So, obviously, the other grant is more specific to our type of trails, but that doesn't mean that we can't apply to the other one. And then, of course, we need to look at finding a grant writer.
Okay, that's what I had talked to Jim to request, because their agenda's always closed by the time we meet. So I asked Jim if he would get us on the agenda for committee reports, and in that report, we could say that with the end of the legislative process, we need to have a grant writer waiting in the wings to proceed. So we're not caught up in, doing that last minute thing.
Good idea.
So we're on for
We just-
next week.
Right.
And do you want any kind of report on the crossings, or do you wanna wait until you have your map?
I would wait until the map, our town manager in the last town council meeting, in his administrative update, made a report that we had the meeting about the crossing, so, that's been established and there's nothing new to add till such time
Okay.
as we develop our presentation, and we might have a copy of the presentation made available for town council members' perusal to get their blessing, and then we proceed to the county.
Okay.
Also, I printed the actual information out. I didn't want to, I was printing like crazy at home already, I was running out of paper and ink. So anybody wants to look at it, I'll be happy to send the electronic version to Janet, and I'm gonna leave this
What
here.
is this?
This is the actual product. There are a couple other things. So that's the report that's coming up in the next agenda on next Tuesday, is that, okay. Trying to see, I had something else in there.
It
Oh,
was,
yeah.
it's a blank spot, kind of.
Yeah.
You fill in the blank, what you want.
We weren't sure, so we put it in as tentative,
It
so
was
it's open to you if you wanna exercise it.
Okay,
I didn't know
so,
if you had something that you wanted to
Mm.
submit to the package, or just the subject be filled in for Mark to have something in there, and then it was just to give you a blank spot, in case you want, it doesn't have to stay there even.
Mhm. Well, one of the concerns I had when our meetings moved from the original spot was always that, having that meeting and then having the council meeting and needing to prepare something for your agenda in time was one of my complaints when we first moved to that Wednesday at the end of the month, because I knew exactly that was going to be my trouble. That's kind of why we switched a little bit to, and there are issues that Mark brings it up, or Tom, if he was here, can bring it up.
And we have the second meeting that usually we have during the year often.
Yeah,
You can always jump into that one.
yeah, that one would probably be a little easier than trying to make the agenda for your Tuesday. Unless there's something burning, and that was if there's something burning, Mark or Tom will bring it up, because I won't be able to. And I don't want to be in the position like I was, where somebody says I didn't see it, or I haven't read it yet, or, then it falls by the wayside, and that's not good for us. So, at that point, I feel more comfortable having.
So one of you is going to come Tuesday and give a
Well-
report?
tell me this, do we have a grant writer? I mean, is Lillian's is she just, she's always.
She works with us on occasion.
On occasion.
Mm-hmm.
What?
We had a 400-page grant application going. It had massive amounts of unapproved minutes, copies of this, that, and the other. Money being asked for planning instead of construction. When you read these grants, there is no planning money. It's money to construct or to acquire. So I really would like us to find somebody who specifically has had some history, if we can. If we can't, then fine. But if we can, that has some history with these particular grants.
Well, you and I have always had a differing opinion on that. The person we brought in is an expert grant writer, has gotten grant after grant after grant. And I know you had issues with our grant, and okay, let's agree to disagree. But, I mean, then if that's the case, then you can get whoever you want. I mean, we don't have to do that. I mean, it's something we try to do and make it happen.
Well, the grant was only turned down because of the site
Site
issues.
control, yeah.
Not
It wasn't
not
turned down,
because
it
of,
was withdrawn. It was
okay,
withdrawn.
withdrawn. But there were no issues with the writing of the grant.
You don't
Okay,
know.
let me put it
We would have
this
had to keep going forward.
Right.
In fairness, we would have had to keep going
Right.
forward to
You
see
don't
what else
know
they
that.
would have.
Do we or do we not get money for planning?
Yeah, the planning is available in some grants.
Is
And
it
and you're,
available?
what you're calling planning, I think she was putting in as part of the development of.
Okay, well,
And obviously, we needed more planning because we had the site control problem.
okay, that, if you consider that planning, then, getting the lobbyists and that sort of thing.
Well, it was all geared toward the actual development of the trails too.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll go back and read the comment letter. I don't remember them telling us that any comments that we were out of the ballpark, we weren't, everything emanated around site control.
Mhm. Well, I mean,
But I'll
I
check
don't
it, I'll
think
check
anybody
it.
was going any further than that, because if the site control was lacking, why bother going through the
Right.
rest of the 400 pages?
I mean, if our attorney would have been able to make the determination, but they couldn't, and I understand that. I mean, it's not a,
Well, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what she meant with planning. It really threw me, and, you know, we haven't seen each other since then, so I just, you know, I know the other thing that threw me was that there was so massive amounts. I mean, there was a huge grant application, with just copies
yes, it
of
was.
things in there,
Yeah.
but just copied raw minutes. So, I don't know, we'll leave it at that.
And when you say raw minutes, I'm not sure what your criticism is of that. You had to show them that, you know, I think the minutes were in there based upon some criteria that they wanted to know that your boards had been discussing it. You're saying they weren't official minutes? Is that what you're?
They were not even, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just, as long as it gets done right, the way it's supposed to be, and I got a comment from somebody that supposedly has seen these things a lot, and that's what I drew from.
And what?
So, okay, I do
We agree to
have,
disagree.
let's leave it at that. Joe,
Mm.
do you wanna update anything?
No, I
Or do you
think
still have some other
I've got
things
enough
that
to
you guys have
chew
first?
on.
To finish what I was
Sorry.
saying, I'm sorry. Mark, so we do have somebody who, because I may not need to speak at this, I mean, this is only April. And if the legislature finishes before July with this issue, I don't need to speak in April,
Right, I hear you.
okay? So.
I'll check on availabilities and things like that.
Okay,
Yeah, I hear you.
Keith?
No comments.
Okay.
We're good.
Then I wanted to let you know, I actually had, and I grabbed the wrong letter. I actually had a letter from Bill Lauda that was supporting the crossings for you. And it looks similar to this, the same up on top, on saying that he was on the council and he was on our committee and that he highly recommends the crossings, etc. So I asked him for it as I was asking him for the support for the trails for the bill. And sure enough, I got the wrong one, so.
Would it be
I'll-
possible that it could be emailed to me without violating any?
I can email it to Mark and
Mark,
then
Mark,
it's from
okay.
there,
Okay,
okay?
that'd be great.
Also, I have collected I brought some with me for anybody who wants to put their support in for the trails. It's going to be considered soon. There isn't much time left. And I also don't know whether all of you guys got to see the bill. So, I can hand the bill out, the actual bill. I think I don't have enough for the public on this one. But
Madam Chair, just a reminder, in the future, you know, our town attorney advised you, you gotta be careful when you continue to hand out stuff that's not part of the agenda. Probably what we need to do in the future is get it to us and then we'll distribute it. Just to be, because, you know, we have a record going and information is being passed out that
But this
wasn't.
is public record already.
Understood, but I'm saying, you know,
Okay.
you're handing out a lot of stuff, which is wonderful, but we probably need to do it in a more controlled fashion.
Okay.
Or either that or ask me and we'll put it together as part of the agenda, you know, if you know what you want, because I have that too. I didn't
Right.
realize you wanted,
Well, actually, we had talked about this, and you had suggested that I hand it out, yeah. That's
Me?
how
I just
understood
you handed it out?
Yeah, that to bring it with me, but however.
And I should mention, Nina, that I objected to something at this past month. We had a meeting that Mark prepared and was, I asked for it to be introduced into the agenda.
Right, well, the third up thing that was left out of the agenda, we were supposed to have it on there. And I didn't catch it in time, so I apologize for that. If, you know, it's public, if you guys don't wanna have it handed out, it's public, information, you can just simply look it up yourselves. It's not secret, it's not something prepared by
I'm
me.
not saying it's secret, and I'm saying you can hand it out. What I'm just saying is in the future, we just need to make sure that we control the flow of information, because if somebody listening to a tape or whatever, if information is going out that wasn't part of the agenda, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I've actually very recently collected a lot of support for the trails. So, if any of you guys wish to do the same, please do so. And, here's a letter that, I don't know whether to hand it out now. I'm stumped now.
Well, we could put it on next month's agenda.
No, it's too late. Let's just leave it right there. Doesn't matter. It's not really, it's not even something that we decide on, so it's not really something that actually matters.
Well, why don't you read into the record? Do that.
No, I'm not, it's gonna take a while. I think everybody's ready to go home otherwise.
Is this your copy?
Yeah, do you want me to go send this to you electronically and you can send it out to everyone?
Sure.
That's what I'll do.
Do you know the website that people can go to for the House bill? Is it My Florida,
You could probably find it through there. I think you gotta do a lot of,
it's a quick
Well,
link, I
steps.
just couldn't remember, very quick link.
Okay, so, I think we're pretty much adjourned at this point. That was it, right? Including remarks? Anybody? Administration? No. So we're adjourned, everybody okay?
My toes reading. It's a cold room. You guys don't pay attention.
Well, there's probably AC out on the other meeting, and then
Outside,
I'm
you do some-
coming over now with long.
Can I, should I unplug it or not? Yeah.
Not yet, let me turn it off, turn everything
I'm gonna
off
leave my
here.
horses for me.
No.
Sleep right here.
I read
Yeah.
my